I'd like to make it more simple, the whole approach of connecting people in different contexts and different cultural contexts. I want to make sure that my whole idea makes a lot more sense and is much more enjoyable as a concept. And I want to make it much more practical. It's not just a concept, it's people living their lives, being it in Germany, France, other countries. They have their everyday life and they try to actually live their life to their best. And it's interesting to actually get them to meet with people from different cultural backgrounds and therefore to have them exchange in a rich and fulfilling manner that goes beyond just simple superficial exchanges. I really want something that allows to create a method around connecting people, be it the everyday person or people who are much more specialized in certain areas, to have them come together and to have them come with their own languages, with their own cultural understanding, and to actually make sure that this actually works as an approach. That there really is a method, as I said, to be developed here. I really see how that might come across as pretty abstract, but let's say people from different countries come with very different historical readings of situations, very different cultural backgrounds, very different languages, very different models. In Europe, there is so much there has been so many years of tensions and different differences and all of that, and it's interesting to, the whole thing where everybody speaks English is kind of cool, but it's not sufficient to really go to the core of actually who is to actually understand what a person comes with in terms of baggage, emotions, and therefore it's somewhere between the individual and the cultural phenomenon. To add a level of abstraction to that, with the internet, the exchanges go much faster, and it's kind of difficult to actually have the same sort of a time frame to understand new concepts. Everything happens so fast online. Yet people come from very old traditions and have a difficulty to properly. I do have sometimes difficulties properly navigating between the whole global context and then the more local sort of environment. So finding a proper balance is what I'm kind of like addressing here, but more specifically, the coming together of different cultures and backgrounds and people in the form of conferences, and the form of probably also online exchanges like here, hopefully having people in my context from a French or German background come together, experts in different areas, be two musicians or whatnot, or people who craftswomen, to have them come together and share their competence, share it. And I want to stress the importance of, once again, the method, finding the sort of like foundational approach to connecting, finding a proper foundation to have people connect in a way that's unfamiliar due to different languages and cultures, but that might also serve as a blueprint for other cultural exchanges in other countries, other environments, other circumstances, given that, in certain contexts, administrations can be very difficult, different, be it if you're from one country or from the other, you might have a difficult time understanding the everyday workings of an administration, an insurance policy, and all of that. And it's kind of interesting to see that, for instance, back in the medieval times, you would travel a few hundred kilometers in Europe and have to pass through different zones where you would have to change your currency, your money. Nowadays, we all have a euro, and it's kind of it simplifies everything, but at the same time, countries stay relevant in terms of like their economical inputs, the way their economy is built. There's an interesting individual and group thing that goes on that I find very interesting, given the rich history and the multifaceted aspect of Europe through a long span of time, and to have that come together and actually make sense of the world in a way that can serve as a blueprint for other circumstances, other countries, other places, to have this sort of a framework to work together through the internet being a big factor in all of that, to bring people together and to be able to actually, that's what I'm trying to do through videos here, to actually hopefully open up new possibilities. I know there's a certain type of concept of like trying to build a big infrastructure, like thinking of the video streaming services like Netflix and all, reaching millions of people across the world, or tens of millions, hundreds of millions, I have no idea how many, however many, but like having a big impact, probably in the hundreds of millions, tens of millions at the very least. Anyhow, that's beside the point. The thing is, kind of like, it's really good and very, very neat, and I love Netflix. At the same time, it's kind of like on a surface level, it stays kind of like very like, it's difficult to really go to the roots of specific cultures, find a method to kind of like find a way to connect different things, instead of having this superimposed like vast network that doesn't really go into the depth of every specific instance. Find a way to go from the bottom up, try to find a different sort of an approach. I find it very interesting, for instance, to have nowadays a short reel format online to share like impressions and videos and all sorts of ideas from all across the world, be it on Instagram, be it on other media. But it's very difficult to go from the roots, really, to come from the roots. It's more of a superficial, like a surface level thing, which is very good in itself. And I love the way also YouTube connects people, which is why I'm here at the moment. And it's kind of also a rediscovering of the frames of reference. Let's say the state as such is a different player than private corporations, and then NGOs and so on. But like the internet brings up a different sort of a player, which is like the YouTuber, not necessarily only the YouTuber, but like the internet brings up like vloggers, brings up bloggers, brings up podcasters, brings up all sorts of different creators, but also it brings a sort of discussion to the forefront that isn't able to happen in other sorts of areas, which is why it's interesting to use it as a starting point to start those types of exchanges, like the one I'm engaging in right now. So being able to actually bring people together from those different backgrounds and have them kind of like interact in a properly ordered manner. I'm actually autistic, so the whole order thing is very interesting, and also the difficulty to fit in proper in pre-existing frames, which is why I'm kind of like trying to do my own thing here, which is interesting way to go about trying to create something that's might be a job, and hopefully at some point build also like a real material. I mean, real. This is real. The internet is real fully, but like the whole, having people come together online and offline and have them kind of like have dedicated places for those types of exchanges. Of course, I can only speak of experience of the French and German type of environment where we have a bunch of let's say administrations and schools, universities, political infrastructures that make sense in order to work with one another, which is great. And I find it a great place to start in order to have more peace in the world, to have people exchange and work together through dialogue. Thing is, it isn't. There's a political will in the first place, and we are the beneficiary of a long tradition of actually trying to decades of trying to post-war Europe trying to come together and all of that. It still needs to kind of like be made more of a from the bottom up type thing. You know, if the infrastructures are there, still it's not the same as if everybody's kind of like really sees the value in it in a different kind of manner, where everybody's identity is properly preserved, but also brought to the forefront in order to participate in the dialogue, to participate in the exchange. And it's it's a it's a very it's a very interesting place to also have people come to realize what they're doing in terms of like craft or science, arts, a different. I really like the idea of having people come together to exchange what they're doing in order to first and foremost know about, okay, my culture is about this and that, or I come from this and that culture and we're doing these types of things. You guys do something similar. What's this all about? What we're doing, and trying to kind of like bring it to actually to a form of expression, properly share it for free as much as possible, which is very important here, and to because it's peace building, really. It's for future generations. It's much more than just some short-lived kind of like experiment. It's really something that's meant to serve as a sort of people giving their very talents and very competence voice, really. So there's a method to be found. There's a framework to be built, and in this context, I really hope to also find a proper balance between like the private sector, in terms of financing, the public, the different approaches to it. This whole video project of mine actually is much more linked to eventually do something more like different channels, different vlogs, different go through different avenues, and hopefully do something virtual like here, virtual, and then eventually much more offline as well, both at the same time, to interact and have a much more broad perspective, and including people who know what they're talking about in terms of arts and sciences, and the everyday logistics of administration, the people working in all sorts of everyday jobs, and try to bring that forward. The original project here was to do a video about a book. Every time I would do a video, I was thinking of doing a review. I have been starting to read Henri Bergson, a French philosopher, which is very tough. I've been really skimming through it. I really don't know how to go in depth. I don't have, in this case, the proper method. I'm not an expert, and I don't have like secondary literature for it. And I probably might do a video at some point. But I was thinking of, getting to start somewhere and trying to go into culture, and to try to ground my whole thing and have some substance instead of just going in the politics of it all. And which is fine, but it needs to be grounded in something. So well, in this short time, I'm actually this video is already 13 minutes long. I wish to work with more people, to find people to actually to hopefully come together, I'm kind of like trying to create some form of a job here, but there's a lot of things already existing in place, as I mentioned, but this, I hope, has some unique characteristics to it that might be interesting for people to actually build something interesting and new here. Also, it's a different kind of world to me. I'm not so very used to this. And having experts, having people actually editing the videos here, or me helping other people with their projects, and trying to find a sort of like place where actually those different talents and different competences can work hand in hand, really is very much part of the very project itself. So and hopefully people with different knowledge, different backgrounds can hopefully help build something here in order to spread the word as well, and to it's different than I would suggest that it's very different from all I've done so far. So it's something I'm really looking forward to in order to develop, and hopefully you'll be part of it as well on some level. Take care.